Hi, what I'd like to do is to tell you why that I wrote the book, the kind of stimulating factors that drove me to writing the book. You know, for many organisations, for many reasons, they cannot or will be not implementing the whole of V3. I know we'd like to implement it all, but it isn't always possible. There's those organisations that are looking towards full implementation, but a bit confused. Where do I start? Where do I start the journey? What do I do first? What do I do second? I know I want to achieve it, I'm just not sure of the steps. ITIL-Lite's aimed at both of these groups, those that will and those that will not be fully implementing ITIL from a starting point. The initial impetus for ITIL-Lite is the new book coming from conversations between me and different folks as I've been working at conferences and so on and so forth. You know, you get chatting, you have conversations. And I noticed two things emerged. One is, where do I start? And is it necessary to implement the whole of ITIL v3? And I kind of wondered why I kept getting that question. Why is it? Why should we implement the whole three? And that's why I think we need to look at a ITIL workshop and book so we can discuss these matters and understand why we need to do them. You know, one of the things I've noticed that when you ask someone, did you fully implement v3? Or are you working on v3? One of the things they often say is, well, I'm not sure I can do it all. And there's a feeling almost of humiliation. Why would you be humiliated because you didn't implement the whole of v3 or embarrassed? And, you know, I usually ask that question, how are you progressing with ITIL? And, you know, since then I've noticed that people start talking about it as though it's a methodology. It's a framework. Where do we get this methodology? A methodology is something you have to do everything, step by step, in some kind of road. Rules, regulations are what drive methodologies. Frameworks are flexible. And that's what ITIL's all about. Those of you who took education on V2, you probably remember that it was all about a framework. You don't have to put it all in. You don't have to implement everything within every process. It's your decision. You have to build the best you can to meet your needs. So for me, I think we should get rid of the shame. ITIL v3 is daunting. There's over 30 processes and functions. And ironically, you talk to different experts and some will say there's 26, somebody else says there's 32. We don't even seem to be able to agree on how many there are. So for me, we have to approach this without the theoretical approach, a practical, hands-on approach, explaining how we take the steps to make this journey. And to me, that was important, putting the workshops and the conferences together, to explain the reasoning and the logic behind ITIL-Lite, to get that message across, so that we can make sure that we create something that will complement us and help us to select the right bits of ITIL v3 to implement to make the right system for our customers. And for those of you looking to go on a full journey, you could just use the book and say, okay, that's stage 1. And then use the book again or the workshop to do stage 2 and stage 3. Because you're not going to put 30 or so processes in overnight. That's going to take planning. And to do that, we need to have a step-by-step approach. And that's the approach we took with this book. Step by step, kind of a project-orientated approach, so that we can make decisions along the line and how to make the key decisions, like which components to include, which ones to leave out, which ones we're going to do first, which ones we're going to do second. That's the guidance that's in the book and the workshops.